talk more about haircuts.
I mean, we can record talking about haircuts.
Caleb did get a haircut. It looks really good.
Oh, thanks. My spouse did it. It was great.
She did an amazing job.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure she's very safe and secure when she does it in a dry area.
Be the strangest 1 minute start to a YouTube video from a community open source meeting.
I like to keep people guessing.
This is the content I'm here for. I just want to be very
exactly.
clear.
I mean, I was gonna say later we can all put on like the Snap camera Halloween filters and make it a spooky meeting.
Getting too close to actual content creation. Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks for being here for everybody for our hair quarantine updates. We have kind of, just as a point of order for everybody, we've split off some of the contributor conversations where we get a little more technical. So if there's anybody who feels like they really want to be a part of that conversation, just let us know. But it's kind of like, cool. Go ahead.
The Gmail, or not Gmail, the Google Groups is invited to the contributors meeting as well.
Yeah, so just know that's happening, and if you're wanting to get more involved in actually contributing code or being involved in some of the design discussions, that would be a cool place to do it. We can still cover them here, but that gets a little more in depth. So just so folks are aware of the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have anything else they want to kind of share as far as an overall update?
You can see my screen, right? I have a rough agenda. So,
I think I could add something related to a database, tech validation stuff we're doing to try and figure out if there's better data technology fits out there. And Guillaume just joined. He's going to help us with that, so we can add it to the agenda.
Guillaume also has a really cool office space. So
thank you.
I'm jealous of that. It's very clean and organized.
Okay. So roughly I have for our agenda, any community updates or questions, let's just get those done first. And then we have an upcoming 1.1 release, and then stuff that's happening on the master branch right now, which is backfill, some query improvements to Query API, and the database stuff Caleb just mentioned. So I think, first of all, does anyone want to say hi or say what they're working on or have any questions of that kind of stuff?
I can go ahead real quick.
I mean, we're going to talk about the database stuff later, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead then.
This is like more like, are you using OpenMatch for anything?
I do think we actually had a game. We had a game launch on OpenMatch. I say that and I can't say the name of it just yet because the case study isn't done. But I know, I'm sorry, but there's a game in the wild that we're hosting on it right now. We successfully migrated our core for I can't say the number, but yeah, we migrated our core for a bunch of matchmaking games that are currently in evaluation, and it's been really smooth. OpenMatch was really a seamless transition for us from what we were using before to being pure OpenMatch. So it's really cool. That was a long time coming and a lot of work. And there was just a really great landing zone for that effort. So yeah,
would
just
this
wanted to
be
share that.
the game we've heard about before?
No.
Okay.
Soon.
Okay. No, I mean, it's great that there's more, and I know eventually we'll hear what they are, and that's awesome.
We have some rings that we're doing now for releasing internally for Unity matchmaking. But the main takeaway is that we moved a bunch of folks to OpenMatch and then found some bugs. And so we're creating some issues for some of those bugs, and we have some fixes that we're testing right now that we'll submit for PRs around.
That's awesome.
For example, if you call a function that doesn't exist, the synchronizer window holds for the max duration of the proposal registration window or the proposal return window. instead of giving up on the function not existing. It kind of waits to retry and see if the function ever shows up in that like 1 to 3 second time window, which pauses some things. So we have a bug. We're going to submit it. It's only if you've misconfigured stuff, but that did happen, and so we're gonna help out there.
That's kind of awesome. gRPC being gRPC.
Yeah.
Hey,
right.
Hey.
So you know what? gRPC
is awesome.
Is really well thought out, but in thinking things out, it makes some design choices that are different from others, like connection library typical stuff. So it doesn't always behave exactly how you expect it to behave.
Well, it is an open source project, and contributors are always welcome. Just gonna throw that out there.
No, there's already a PR, which I just need to double check. I think it's ready to go for OpenMatch. We have to call gRPC the right way to get the behavior we wanted. So that's the deal.
Well, at any rate, that's really awesome, Caleb, and thanks for bringing the things that y'all, real world test and learn back to the project in form of issues and stuff like that, so we can.
Sure.
We appreciate it. Anybody else have anything cool they're working on they just want to share? Or?
Well, sorry. As a reminder, or something that I want to amplify, we do have the OpenMatch ecosystem repo. So if you are working on anything interesting, we would really hope that you would contribute there. Whether it be any cool projects, whether it's using OpenMatch and Aganes. Daniel, I want you to talk about your project. So look forward to seeing that. We're going to add it to the OpenMatch docs so that you can easily navigate to it, and hopefully we can list out all the cool things that people are working on, so that if you're inspired by those projects, you can create something interesting yourself.
Yeah,
lots of good stuff. Thank you for running with that, John, and getting it all organized and
cool.
Okay.
Well, unless there's anything else, we can move on to, or we can come back to anything else afterwards, I guess. So OpenMatch 1.1 release. John, you've made the cut for the branch at this point, I believe. So anything going in now is not going to make it. Although you're maybe having some problems with the release. So, yes. Okay. So it's coming.
Maybe John can just give an update on the release.
John.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'm currently going through the release. I am suffering from environment issues at the moment, so I am firing up a VM to do the release. Outside of that, I'm making sure that all of our testing works, because in different environments, the tests are failing. So I just need to make sure that everything is running smoothly, because it's passing in one environment and failing in another. So I will be sure to update the community as far as anything that's going on with the release.
Is there anything you need help with?
I will probably reach out to the community to see if anybody wants to run this in their environment, to see if they're getting the same issues, because if so, then I probably just need to ask, I guess, our parent company, Google, for an actual Linux machine, so I can do these builds myself there.
Sure, some people will tell you should just switch everything over to a Linux machine, but
I was gonna ask, do you run a lot of your build steps like inside a container, or does it run locally on the machine? I think I asked John. I don't know if it was super clear. It was maybe too technical for this conversation. I was just kind of curious.
Both.
I think you face, Scott. Both.
Probably. A lot of the stuff does run outside of the container.
probably if you can chuck as much of it as you can inside the container, then a lot of these
Yeah.
environment type issues go away.
That is true. Yeah. So I think in general our release could use improvement. Like basically all of it probably could be automated to the point where we just tag something and it does a release with that tag, and then we fill out the GitHub notes or whatever. That's obviously not automated, but
We'll have a tool for that if you want to change log generator.
oh yeah, that maybe just doing that. Yeah,
Yeah,
So
it's a
maybe
feature
it's all
now.
automatable.
So. Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Here.
Is there anything else you want to say about the release stuff, John?
Not that
It's
I
not
can
to
think
imply
of.
that you should say something else. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure we were done before moving on.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything else.
Cool. So I guess the backfill conversation.
So there's several awesome changes coming in. The big one probably people mostly care about is backfill. We have a design doc that is linked from the GitHub issue on backfill. If you are interested in going into the details, they are there. We're pretty happy with the design now, and we're going to start making changes to the main repo. There's already a couple PRs out for adding protos and changes to state store and stuff already. I don't know how much we want to get into any of the design on that. I think most people here have already seen it, so I don't want to just repeat myself. And all the designs are there and everything. Although maybe we should do for press 30. I don't know. Does anyone have any opinion of?
I think it might be useful for.
Talk about?
I think it might be useful for this setting to just go over not the design, but kind of like what does this what is the design that we're getting happier about do from the perspective of someone who wants to come into the open match environment and understand like not what is backfill, but what is it about how open match approaches backfill that works well from your discovery and discussions.
That was a really easy question until you said not what is backfill.
Yeah, I think there's part of this that's like we could describe backfill, and for those joining, we can take a swing at maybe a 30-second version and then elaborate a little bit. But I'm imagining, when people come and understand this content later, they might want to hear about what we considered about backfill that Open Match is going to help with.
Right. So I think the short definition of backfill is you have a server running or starting up and you want more players to come in. This could either be you have a session-based game and you want someone leaves and you want a replacement, or it could be a social lobby where you just keep them running for hours or whatever. And players come in and out and they, go to the shops or whatever, and they see other players running around, going to different shops, that kind of thing. So that has been more difficult to implement in OpenMatch so far. Currently, we recommend using tickets, but we are working on a new concept, which is a backfill. It's a lot like a ticket. It has search fields. It has extensions, so you can put whatever data you want on it. And it has an ID, but it behaves differently. It can be created by a match function, so it can say like, "Hey, I am creating a new game, and I want 100 players because I'm a battle royale, but I only had 50 at the moment. So I want to put them in a lobby and let them run it around in a lobby, but I want to find another 50 players." And we do it right away so that if the server takes a while to start up, more players can come in and be waiting on the server starting up. The other thing that can happen is the game server can reach out to OpenMatch and say, "Hey, here are my details. I want more players." Both are supported, and they both have update guarantees about like OpenMatch is doing the work of try to decollide when the match function suggests something, but the game server also says, hey, things have changed. That kind of stuff is requires a lot of working through the edge cases. And I think we've done a pretty good job of giving you a design that handles those edge cases in a way that's pretty, like, you don't have to think about there's a ton of edge cases. It's just you do the sensible thing, and OpenMatch just like handles the edge cases through that sensible thing. We had a lot of questions about how to actually, like, what is the sensible thing in that a way that makes it easy for us to do the right thing. But I believe we've arrived there. So you just, on a match, just return a backfill. Or if you want to update a backfill, you just change the fields in the backfill and then put it on a match. And that says it will all flow through the system. It will update. There are some also changes into your director as well, because you now need to not always allocate a match. And the assignment flow goes through a different mechanism triggered by your game server. If you're using backfill versus assignment flow today, the director gives assignments back right away. There are various reasons for that. I don't think we need to go into them, but it's a little bit of a change. Nothing complicated. The most work you're probably gonna have to do is in your game server actually having the ability to reach out to OpenMatch, and any logic there. Hopefully we'll end up with some libraries or something for various game engines, but there's a little bit there. Does anyone else want who's working on working on backfill want to add anything? Or
and I just wanted to add that backfill is like an anti-ticket or like Hall and Electron, if we compare in electrical way, if we think about this. So I mean, when backfill meet a number of tickets, these tickets disappear. But they also should be queried with the same search fields. And now we should provide the way how to define the search fields, and in order to be queried for the same match profile as normal tickets. So I mentioned that we could use, for example, in a range filter, we can use an average between min and max, for example, to and put it in these search fields. So we are thinking of how to properly reuse these search fields right now. And some other most issues we currently face is Redis changes, when we need to have a list of tickets assigned or not assigned, mapped into one backfill, which are waiting for assignments. Yes, it's probably it.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is so cool about this type of design is that it's the same power and customization in the match function. We just brought backfill into the match function purview. In the same way that you can understand tickets as this blob of data that it's very custom, backfills are the same way, but it has an intuitive representation from the perspective of a match isn't complete, and so you can represent it as needing to be filled more. And the game server just needs to know about it, and then you're pretty much that's the extent of what you need to understand from a match, like an open match user who's going to be developing inside of the framework. One concept is in match functions, the other is on the game server, and you're in. I think that's a pretty compelling. Considering it hits all the edge cases, it's a pretty compelling take on it.
Mm-hmm.
So super exciting.
Yeah. I think this has been the most requested feature of OpenMatch like all time. So it's really excited that code's going to start going into the main branch like probably today. So if the reviews go well, so that's awesome.
Should be 10.0. Massively major significant improvement. I'm teasing.
Okay.
Let's just make the numbers not mean anything, right? Super exciting.
Cool.
I guess, does anyone have any questions about backfill? I think we have the I think we have all the backfill experts in the room. Great.
Awesome.
Now we can move on.
Probably we have a question about the requirements. How many tickets can wait in this backfield to be assigned? So we need to get this. I mean, are you, Caleb, have some limits on number of tickets which could be in this backfield? I mean, regular tickets.
Sorry, maybe I didn't quite capture the question. There's a chat that came up right when we started, and I was distracted by it.
Yeah, fine. I mean, probably we should also discuss some limitations on how many players, in this case tickets, could be waiting to be backfilled. I mean,
yeah, I think that's a good point, right? Like, could you have thousands of tickets on a backfill ticket, and would that just bog the system down and lead to, like, you know, draining the pool until like servers respawn? But also, I think that there is a case to be made for doing backfill as the only way to make matches, which means you see one ticket, you immediately make a backfill ticket, and you keep adding tickets, right? And if, you know, 100 players show up and you have a 100-player, you know, like battle royale match, you should probably be able to assign those, right? But is there like an upper limit on essentially how many players could kind of be in? I guess it kind of corresponds to a match, right? So I don't know if Open Match has taken a stance on that right now. I imagine the only real reason to have the limit imposed is due to performance, right? But I would like to not. I'm personally in favor of not necessarily implementing a hard cap on it, since it's kind of up to the users of Open Match to, you know, find that when they put 10,000 tickets, things are bad. Maybe we could have guidance there, or like have official tests there, but
I generally with Open Match, I take the stance of, like, we try to make it run good, but like you need to run your test, because your end-to-end skill test, because it's possible you're going to hit an edge case in Open Match, but it's also really possible that you're going to hit an issue with your MMF having n squared, you know, runtime complexity, or you know, talking to server startups taking too long, or something like that. So there's a lot of places where subtle things could happen. So I always recommend running as close as you can get to real world skill test before you do any big launch with Open Match. But
one point that might be worth just specifically out of scoping, right? One of the things we try to do in Open Match is we try not to put anyone down the wrong road. I have seen it before in conversation where Open Match starts to look like a traffic manager, like a global traffic manager or an ingress, a sort of like a terrifying way to use MapReduce to send you to like a server that is serving requests that are lightly longer than a normal web request. And so for anyone who wants to try and achieve a type of service discovery layer where backfills are actually server registrations, and you're trying to batch requests by the tens of thousands into a type of thing that can be consumed, I recommend a pipelining system like like Tecton, or, you know, just normal services, event-driven architecture. Maybe even think about denormalizing the batching into something more like a data flow pattern. But yeah, I would veer away from using Open Match in this style. Open Match is primarily a pressure ingress egress mechanism for doing real-time MapReduce that would not be a good fit for that type of problem. So I don't see a reason why to Andy's point, why we would need to limit it, save for someone trying to do something really crazy. There could be a 1,000-person game. Like, I get it, especially if there's like a worldwide event. But Open Match primarily tries to be a real-time matchmaking system, not necessarily what you would want out of something for like a dating app or event planning style matchmaking. Find the local, find the conference near you in the next 6 months type of thing. Find a health provider. That's a different kind of search.
Yes.
As a part of the backfill work, I'd be curious to understand what we can do in Open Match, though, to enable. We've talked about reporting on stress testing in Open Match in general. I think the problem has always been around scenarios. So we definitely have some more that we've been discovering. I think this idea that there's a scenario where we have very large matches, and now backfill is part of that story. We should consider that as part of some piece of work someone could contribute.
Yep. Definitely. I think there's two pieces to that. With the scale testing, there is just like a scenarios folder where you can add new scenarios if you want. It fairly easy. We're hoping to extend it for backfill to include more functionality for backfill scenarios, but also the scale testing. Another improvement we can make is making it easier to run in an automated way or something. But nobody has prioritized doing that at the moment. So if someone from the community is interested, hey, there's a bunch of things. Anyways, unless there's anything else on backfill, I think we can move on.
Do we need to create a separate ticket with this Google Docs content pushed to the GitHub, or proposal stuff?
We've already linked it from the issue, so I think that's good enough. And it's public, so anyone can come on and look at it and make suggestions or comments. And people are invited to, not just welcome, but you are invited to come in, check it out.
You are requested to.
Yes, requested to. Tell us how we're being stupid before it's all committed to code. Okay. So next bit here is there's going to be an exclude the ranges on the range query are both inclusive. So min and max are both inclusive. There's a PR from Unity that is adding the ability to make one or both of them exclusive. So you can do things, you can put two match functions that are segmenting a range. That will be, I think it's ready. I have to double check. Coming into the merge. It's gonna miss 1.1, but 1.2 probably will have that as well in beta. So if you needed that functionality, hey, Unity contributed it. Thank them. Cool. Well, unless there's anything on that, let's talk about Unity. What are you doing with databases?
Guillaume, do you want to talk a little bit about just maybe the framing here is, around the limits that we've encountered, our desire to understand partitioning, and also like readdress what database technology is trying to do in Open Match, like what makes a good fit for this style of architecture.
Yeah, so basically on our scale, we figured that we were reaching the limit of CCUs for some of our customers, and we were not able to horizontally scale either OM Query or Redis. And we have been looking at what sort of solution we could have to fix this horizontal scaling, and also like allow developer to have like better performance on their matchmaking. One of the option is to look at partitioning. So the ability to partitions the tickets based on developers or like queues, pools that we're calling developer pools. And to do that, basically we were looking at some what kind of DB would be able to enable us having like high throughput of like read, delete, and creation in memory. For now, we have found 2 DBs that may eventually fit our needs. One would be Aerospike, the other one would be Redis, but the enterprise version that allows us to scale horizontally. So I guess the idea is not to force any DB decision and not to force like the use of any kind of DB in OpenMatch. So probably like one of the options we would have is to separate OM query and the data layer, and so that like OM query become like completely agnostic of the DB technologies we're using, and then we have a data layer that we implement for like kind of drivers for the database that we can support, and then provide like those options for whoever wants to implement OpenMatch. So that means that we will still be able to use like the current implementation, so using like Redis the way it is, and then like provide the option of using partitioning with a third-party database that could be like whatever we find that makes a cut. And like I said, like right now we're looking at Aerospike and Redis Enterprise for our need specifically, our need of of scale.
One of the interesting struggles, or one of the challenges that anyone coming into OpenMatch has, is it comes with a database, and so we can definitely get some, like we can continue to assume the user of OpenMatch and folks here. I mean, this is where some feedback would be useful for us, trying to understand how to drive not changes but like improvements and enhancements to separating aspects of the hosting challenges from like the app, what OpenMatch is trying to achieve with matchmaking. The HA Redis takes you so far. If we want to get partitioning, we need to talk about clustered HA Redis, which will significantly increase some of the challenges of hosting OpenMatch. And OpenMatch might not necessarily be the best place to understand how to like grok and enable hosting of that type of infrastructure, including things like cluster auto scaling is something that is very challenging. And so like if that's a requirement in OpenMatch, we'd want to understand how to like bring that type of expertise into the project. Whereas there are, we basically want to enable certain like off the shelf DBs to also be accounted for. And so that's something that we can also take into technical steering. But if anyone else from the community has like databases that they'd like us to look into, we're investigating it right now to even pursue ones that are even stranger or more niche. This is such an interesting database problem from a tight, doesn't have to be tight consistency in indexing, but it does need to be extremely fast, high parallelizable query with instant hydration. And then in the meantime, we also have to have this consistency between synchronizing windows. So one of the things that we've noticed in enterprise Redis, or just it's really Redis Search, which is an indexing mechanism built on Redis that we think might provide similar functionality to what OpenQuery provides. OpenQuery would still be a really great interop layer. But yeah, Redis search and then Aerospike kind of has that concept of query built into it. So we think we might get really interesting scale out of those two systems. From not just a partitioning perspective, but also like enabling a higher singular pool. We call it global pool. It's something that we've been throwing around. Because right now, OpenMatch is a global pool concept. The queries are all executed against one collection, and there's no way of separating them. So we should have an update on at least the ones that we've investigated in a future meeting related to just general like proof of concept throughput. Might not be done exclusively in OpenMatch to begin with. Might be more like a little app that we write to enable stress testing those systems in a style that looks like OpenMatch, and then provide those numbers back to this forum.
Cool. I look forward to seeing the results of that.
I know, Scott, you had done some investigations. I don't know if we've synced, but any in this setting, anything that like you've noticed related to OpenMatch performance that folks might be interested in? I know that you did a test with with master slave Redis where you enabled like a slave component per OM query so that they all had their own dedicated slave, but that didn't scale infinitely. It actually has some problems.
Yeah, so we did do reading from slaves for query, and as an experiment, Yufeng did that, and we were comparing several different options, and that didn't actually really improve the numbers at all.
Yeah,
weirdly enough. Yeah, we didn't call that a success. It was good. It was good to try though. But what we did currently is that query will figure out how to describe it. When query gets a request, it asks Redis, what are all the tickets? And then it does an update of any tickets it's missing and throws any way that it has but aren't there anymore. So that has this caching layer, and then it runs the like actual query range filtering, whatever, in memory in parallel. And we got way better scale with that. So I think I'd be interested. Like, I did a little bit of research around, are there any things like Redis that does the querying patterns that we really want to do? I didn't have any luck. That doesn't mean that there aren't any. I don't think I looked into Aerospike, so whatever that is, maybe that does it. But for my cursory searching, I didn't really find anything, and I focused, like, all of our problems were with query at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, or querying, and it was like obviously the huge bottleneck that we were fighting. So in that respect, that's what we focused on. I wouldn't be surprised if I had to guess about like what would be a good way to approach this is what would be a better system for watching assignments and maybe we're sharding the player pools and that just works, but then query looks across those player pools. Or we also shard query and put like something in front of query, which is what we would call query, I guess. And then we'd split it, send it out to query shards or something like that. Maybe that would be the good way to go. I haven't looked into it too much. But focus on try to figure out what's causing Redis problems and focus on that is maybe a useful tack. But I think the other question is, what is the level of scale you want? And what we focused on was one very large game, and we were trying to get to that. If you want more than that, then I think the current ways I looked at the problem don't really apply. So
Yeah, those are great points, Scott. I think we're hoping to bring back some feedback on both fronts, not just large game, but mini game as well. And still looking for other community members that might be trying to achieve that same mini game result, multi-tenancy. I know of at least one other that was looking into it, but feel free to ping the dev channel and just express like, yeah, I actually want to do like 10 games as well on a single instance instead of hosting 10 versions of Open Match. But so still vetting that assumption on my part. The I guess I have one more sort of like I have a piece of like technical advice for anyone who is getting ready to launch their game on Open Match. We don't really have a like launches corner. I imagine we could add that type of concept to our variety show here, but there is a limit to what you can do with a match function that is in squared processing a pool of tickets, and it's based on the number of tickets you have. So what a behavior that you might come across when you're doing Open Match processing is that if you're unable to egress your players out of matchmaking, the player pool increases. And then that prevents you from being able to make matches in a timely way, which then snowballs your player pool, and then you can't egress the pressure. And so you end up just in a hard lock state of every player sitting in matchmaking, unable to leave. We've added at our front door that I think I just realized this, Guillaume, we should probably think about figuring out how to get this back in, is a pool limiter. So a way to queue players coming into matchmaking, having it look like they've entered matchmaking, but they're effectively waiting for the pool of actual tickets trying to matchmake to reduce in size. It might not just be like that you're unable to make matches fast enough. It might also be that your downstream isn't, the director's not sending matches to servers. And so therefore you're stuck with players sitting there waiting and getting put back into matchmaking. But I think a pool limiter would be a cool idea, and we'll bring that into technical conversation and make an issue for it.
Cool. You already answered my question.
I was going to say a quick question on that. So, like, doesn't that potentially introduce the alternative problem that the people with whom I would match are now sharded outside the gate, right? So, I have a different style of can't get the people out fast enough. But if you're full, the odds that you can make a match is probably pretty high.
Right. This is the theoretical limit of what, real-time matchmaking looks like in terms of parallel compute processing that an N1 standard 4 can do given the query time. And if your matchmaking needs, 100,000 simultaneous observations on that many tickets, then like maybe 100,000 makes sense and your match function needs to be fast, or maybe your matchmaking loop needs to be really slow. And therefore you need to use the Open Match configurations to make it, 60 seconds is crazy, but like 60 seconds worth of match function processing time to consume your pool. From a real-time, second style matchmaking perspective, you can only make so many observations and parallel comparisons between tickets. So having a pool limiter as a configurable option in Open Match might be an interesting tool to utilize to prevent things from. We've experienced snowball on our side, and it's pretty hard to. You end up like flushing the database in real time, trying to get some matches out. But yeah, what happens is egress stops going, and suddenly you end up with your entire, over the course of an average game length, everyone comes back through matchmaking, and so they're all sitting there, not 200,000, but 1 million players waiting to go through matchmaking.
Is it possible to add is it useful or maybe helpful to add a director back off? Like, okay, my match function is taken, it's just really going exponential. But if I let it finish once, like half these people will go away. So just don't add. That's not the problem, though, is it? Right?
Yeah,
the director is not the problem.
I think the idea here, generally speaking, is that adding more players will make things slower. So I want to limit the pool to keep things fast, and by keep limiting the pool, I'm going to move faster and work through the tickets faster. And I already have like a lot of players, so I'm going to be able to make good matches, right? So like the quality isn't going to suffer that much other than wait time.
Right.
But I just need it's kind of a failure scenario where you hit some n squared in your match function, or you like you hit something that like starts really slowing down.
What about
So
paging?
yeah.
Right, like
So
there's
I
got to
thought
be
about it too. It seems
Yeah,
like a
there's-
good idea, but sorry, go ahead.
well, there's a tail where beyond 10,000 players, like the quality of match and the speed of match like doesn't improve. So you may have 1 million tickets, but if you just say give me the first 10,000, I will keep my match function super tight on those. I will get good matches, and those people, right? Is that a way we could do it? I'm just throwing ideas. By the way, these are total
Yeah,
new
for sure.
questions, so
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. Scott, I mean, you were going to say something about paging, and then I probably have something as well.
I was gonna say, I think limiting it at the front end ensures that we don't hit, like, if your bottleneck is the Redis, creating tickets or whatever, limiting it at the front end will prevent more areas where bottlenecks could develop in your system. So it seems more natural to prevent it there. We did look into limiting queries a little bit at one point, but we never had a strong reason to do that. Like a limit, like query from call query, but limit at 1,000 tickets or something. So we didn't end up doing any of that. Although people are welcome to, suggest it or submit it as an option.
I kind of imagine three touch points here that really anyone could pursue. The first is to queue them at the front door, either through a exponential back off header or an actual like queue that's like you're not indexed until we can index you, so therefore you're in matchmaking but nothing can see you. So there's a front door way. I think to Aaron's point, there's a match function protection way, which is the query layer won't give you more than you can handle, but the query layer now has to do more from an indexing perspective because we have this large index now that we need to page through. So maybe that's an interesting consideration to add to our database exploration to see if there's any technologies that just give it to us. Because of OM query is basically like a hand-built indexing system built on top of a cache. There are things we can do directly into that that might help. Partitioning gets really hard with the OM query setup that we currently have. So we'll want to talk about that as a part of the partitioning conversation. I think to your point, there's also what I sometimes think of as like a real-time tuning where the director actually kind of needs to be smart and it needs to have the ability to make a trade-off between, hey, like there is a world where I need to break the dam and like let one process for a minute. In the meantime, I still have tickets coming through, but maybe I'm actually fully saturated and everyone's waiting on a match. So let's just go ahead and do a long form matchmaking round and then speed it up. And getting control over that synchronizer window is an interesting strategy for basically like having your foot on the gas pedal and having your hand on the choke and like kind of adjusting the engine to get it working again. Yeah, definitely. I want to think more on the technical side for which one gives us different bangs for your buck. We went with the pull limiter just to enable like to get a consistent behavior that we could know that, hey, 30,000 tickets in the pool, we know for this custom match function is under 3 seconds. And so we were basically able to like never have a snowballing problem.
Mhm.
Reacting to a snowballing problem is an interesting, is another thing we could talk about.
Yeah, these don't necessarily need to be mutually exclusive at all. Like multi-layered responses is a good idea. Like you start by paging your queries, then you go, okay, look, you guys just stand outside. That's like level 2. It's reasonable to have many tools to address this. Yeah.
Well, we'll look into making an issue for the pull limiter one just because we already have it sort of designed, and I think the synchronizer already being a loop allows us to update like how big the pool is and allow the front doors to reject calls or queue calls. Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
You mentioned that ratio of like tickets to like performance time, right? Like, are there any guidelines or numbers, right? I mean, everything's a custom match function, so it's really hard to tell somebody like you're going to get 800 tickets a second, but you're going to get 12 or whatever. There's no guidance, is there, on like the kinds of operations that are costly or whatever?
there's the numbers we've published. They're on the 0.10 releases. The last time we did the full run of the profiling, because there wasn't any profile like performance improvements in 1.0. Yes, dog. For people watching the recording, April's holding a dog. You can't see that. It's very cute. What was I saying?
Sorry. It's April's fault. In terms of guidelines for
yes, in terms of guidelines, yeah, it's like we have those numbers. Those are where you can start. Unfortunately, I really do think it is you have to write your scenario and actually try it thing, right?
Oh, Aaron, I think
You're
you're
muted.
muted.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'll ping you offline for the pro. I can't find them immediately on OpenMatchDev or GitHub, but you can ping me.
It's on the release. Like if you look at releases, it's just like a paragraph on the 0.10 release, 0.10. So
We've been in an interesting position where we've seen a lot of custom functions. We've been in co-development with a lot of people who are authoring custom functions. It'd be interesting to try and get some of that feedback through. It's very varied. We see in login, we see expensive off-box call operations. We've seen exponential time. Those ones in particular, I think it really hits home how important algorithms are, because you can only have like 10,000 CCU if your matchmaker can only do 2,000 tickets a minute before it enters into like a degraded mode, and then it starts to kind of snowball, or you have to prevent the snowball. We've also seen, I think to Scott's point, when it's really simple logic or like linear time, that it's 500, 500,000 tickets per minute, and that could technically support 3 or 4 or 5 million CCU without really much modification. So understanding how to benchmark that is definitely something I could imagine the community benefiting from in the ecosystem repository. If we had a benchmarking example for how to convert like a unit test on a function with so many tickets should result in X scale in OpenMatch.
cool. So we have 2 minutes left. I see. Someone left a comment saying OpenMatch docs pools are stale. I should get on that. I'm also working on all the new pull requests we've got recently on the main repo. Yeah.
Scott, I just want to recognize something you submitted recently. The how to contribute.
Yeah.
YouTube video, very, very helpful, awesome contribution, and I know that's going to be really great for a lot of people trying to get introduced to like how to actually think about OpenMatch. We know it's a framework. We know that there's work to do there, that you might need to spend some time rolling your sleeves and getting involved, and that's going to be a really big help. So thank you.
Maybe I should do that, Mark. You know what? Pull requests are welcome. I'm gonna put your logic right back on you, Mark.
My role here is purely advisory.
Here we have a 11 advisor room.
Seriously.
The advisors meeting. Cool.
Okay.
I think we're at time. Scott, thank you.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye all.
See y'all next month.
So yeah.
See you.